Hello and welcome back. It is now October 6th, a frosty morning out here. So the first real, significant window scraping frost of the season so far this morning here. So we did have some interesting weather this weekend. We did end up getting somewhere around a ½ inch of rain, I think on Saturday night, depending on the area. And it looks like this coming week, we're supposed to be getting down to 0 or lower, but still have daytime highs in the high teens or low 20s. So should be some interesting weather this week. With this colder weather now, we should start to see, especially after, the weekend's moisture, should start to see a few winter annuals starting to come up. Well, right now there's still some visible frost on things here and there, but that's starting to change as the sun comes out, starts warming things up. You can see this buckwheat has a very, very good seed production going on here, but is still covered with frost. Likely that frost isn't going to be significant enough to harm it. Same thing with this, the volunteer barley here. You can see it is a little frosted. Will it bang it up a little bit? Yeah, potentially, but usually, barley, we're going to need a pretty significant frost to kill that volunteer. Of course, if it was springtime and we had canola seeded, it would all be absolutely probably dead from this, but right now, this fall here, these little guys that are emerged, and there's not a whole lot of them around, are probably going to be perfectly fine after being frosted. I mean, really, we were only down to like -1 last night. Well, here in this pea stubble field, we can see we got a pretty good patch of Canada thistle in here. Now that we've had a little bit of frost, we should have really good results by going in and doing some post-harvest treatment on these guys. So a little bit of frost drives that nutrient flow the other way, and we can hopefully get some glyphosate down into that root system and have, 80 to 90% control in patches like this. You can see some of these guys are actually starting to bud and flower. So that is another good sign of the correct staging in order to spray these guys. Well, it's that time of the year again. We need to start talking about soil-applied residual herbicides for next year's season. So for a lot of fields like this one behind me that is going to be going into lentils for next year, Fierce is the product we're going to be using here. But if for other pulses, you could be using, Volterra or Authority or Focus as well. Focus can be spring-applied ahead of lentils, but Fierce cannot. So let's take a look at our soil temperatures and determine when the proper time to apply is. We could go ahead and apply now. However, soil temperature is on the warm side at the moment. So if we did apply now, it would actually use up some of our residual before next year. Basically, we want to wait until our soil temperature is on average below 10 degrees, which will reduce that herbicide breakdown over the winter. So let's take a look at some soil temperatures. Well, here in this barley stubble, we do have some perennial grasses that are always good to take care of in the fall. Here we've got some foxtail. So this foxtail is regrown after harvest here. Foxtail is a perennial grassy weed, and we're better off to take care of it in the fall. We can get away with less glyphosate in the fall to take care of it compared to in the spring. So your standard rate of glyphosate in the fall, 1/2 to 3/4 of a liter. We'll do a pretty good job taking care of it as long as we're adding crimson and stuff like that into the tank as well. Downy brome over here, you can see we've got a bunch of, older, more mature plants that are kind of in between the rows here that are skeletons. But you can also see we have some newer plants here too that are a bit of regrowth. You can see we got seed heads on there already as well. So downy brome, same kind of thing, perennial biennial grass. Most of it is fall germinated, and it's better to take care of it in the fall, because if we leave these plants till next year, then these plants will be established and will take off right away first thing in the spring, start dropping seed right away. So we want to take care of them preferably before spring. There will still be some spring germination of brome, but usually those plants are not as serious as the fall germinated ones. This field of yellow pea stubble has been seeded probably about 10 days ago, winter wheat. So far, emergence has been very poor. This field was very, very dry conditions. However, we did get that rain on Saturday, so it's been a few days since then now. Starting to see a little bit of germination here now. Some of the seed is just starting to pop. So it's still a few days away from emergence, but it is starting to go. So hopefully we will see a stand in here soon, because we're running out of time and conditions are going to close in on us here relatively soon. Well, here we have a winter wheat field that has, as you can see, quite a lot of volunteer coming up in here. So this has been worked, manured, then worked, and then irrigated. So we have excellent emergence of volunteer because we had good seed to soil contact in here. So everything is trying to come up here at the moment. Now, winter wheat, of course, does not winter kill over the winter. So it is a very good idea to take care of it in the fall when you can, in situations like this, when the weather is going to be pretty good for the next week or two for spraying it out. If you don't spray it out in the spring, it will be a lot larger and a lot more of an aggressive weed that will take off right away. So also in this field, we have some stinkweed starting to appear, as well as volunteer canola. A few other weeds in here, lots of buckwheat, mallow, chickweed, Lots of other stuff germinating in here as well. Well, this field of irrigated fall rye is looking really good so far, but man, are we ever having troubles with volunteer barley in here. Of course, this is on barley stubble. So right now, the fall rye itself is doing pretty good, filling in pretty well, but man, that barley is aggressive. So once we get a killing frost in here, significant enough to knock down this barley, then we won't have much of a problem anymore and everything will be good. But right now, as far as I know, at least this week, there's not going to be any significant frost in the forecast, potentially next week. So hopefully this barley gets the steam taken out of its sails here relatively soon, allowing the rye to take over. Here we have another rye field. This one is not quite as advanced as some of the others. This is mostly two leaf. Some is starting to push a third leaf out, but the rye itself is looking pretty good. But you can see we got pretty thick volunteer canola in here, this being canola stubble. Now this field was treated prior to seeding with DB878 Pro, which does have a residual which lasts for about 2 weeks and will control volunteer canola into the cotyledon stage. And that's why you're not seeing anything here that is larger than cotyledon stage, as canola has been emerging in here for quite a while. But so far it has been kept under control. But I think now we're well past that 2 week stage now. Control is starting to break down. I think quite a few of these canolas might make it through, although you are still seeing some yellowing and some activity on some of them here. But yeah, for a lot of these canolas now, we're going to be relying on frost to get them under control. Well, Thursday afternoon now, air temperature is about 17 degrees. Let's take a look at some soil temperatures and we'll see how things are. So first off, let's check this canola stubble. Check surface temperature here. We're at just underneath the straw there. We're like 10 degrees, 11 degrees. So that straw will insulate that ground, keep it cooler during the day. So just underneath the surface here, 9 degrees. Down at an inch, 8 degrees. So that looks pretty good. Let's check out some barley stubble here. A little less soil on trash on the soil surface here, so we should be a little warmer, which we are. That soil surface is about 25, 27 degrees. Which is quite a bit warmer than the air temperature even. So let's get down here. So just under the surface here, we're at about a ½ inch depth, 16 degrees there. And right down at an inch here, we are at 12 to 13 degrees. So still a little bit on the warm side. I would say, given those soil temperatures at an inch depth here now, I would say by the time this video comes out on Friday, we should be good to go as far as the application of fall applied products. Probably Saturday should be good as well, because after that, it's going to start getting quite a bit colder. Sunday, Monday, we're supposed to be below freezing all day long. So those temperatures are definitely going to drop our average soil temperatures down. So better get at her while we can. Well, that'll be it for this week. Happy Thanksgiving, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.